Criticizing people is one of the hardest things to get right, and most of the time people do it in the wrong way. Now, as much as I like to think that I'm open-minded to criticism, even then I get offended a lot of the times when someone criticizes me harshly, and that is just natural. We're always going to have a knee-jerk reaction to when someone criticizes us. We're social animals, we want to be loved and respected in the society, but when we are criticized, we feel that we may get isolated, we fear that we're not accepted anymore. This is even worse coming from the people that we love the most. When someone we're close to criticizes us in a mean way, we not only feel hurt, but also feel betrayed. And if our superior criticizes us, then our morale goes down and so does our productivity. But obviously, criticism is a very important part of the social interactions we have, because that's how we can learn and grow. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you how you can criticize other people in a way so that they don't feel bad and that it's actually helpful for them. This is the last part of my series on how to win friends and influence people, so be sure to check the other parts out after watching this video. How many times have you heard this? No offense. And right after saying no offense, people go on to say some of the most offensive things. This is not the way to criticize people, because then you're damaging their ego. Whenever you say no offense, people are going to take offense and they're going to brace themselves. This is going to do you no good. So whenever you have to find fault, begin with praise and honest appreciation. I'm going to show you this using an example. Let's say you're the boss and you have an employee who is underperforming. He used to be good, but now his productivity is low and he keeps making a lot of mistakes. You have to criticize him in a way so that he improves. And before you do that, use principle 1. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. Remember all the good things about him, the fact that he's very punctual or maybe a great friend to work with. Whatever it is, tell him that first. This way he will lower his guard and will actually pay attention to whatever it is that you're saying. Now when you actually start to give him feedback, resist the urge to go negative. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Humans are not creatures of logic, they are creatures of emotions. Yes, you can be all domineering and scream at people, but that's not the way to get the best out of them. There's an easy way to do this. Instead of using but, start using and. So if you were going to say, I really appreciate how hard you work and how punctual you are, but I wanted to talk to you about your last performance report, he's immediately going to get defensive. Instead, say this. I really appreciate how hard you work and how punctual you are, and I wanted to go over some things from your last performance report. This way you'll be using principle number 2. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly, and this way he will be much more receptive. Now when you're criticizing someone and you come from a place of, oh, I know more than you, then the other person is going to resent you for it. None of us are perfect, so what gives you the right to talk to someone else like that? So for example, if you're a parent and you want to tell your child to clean his room, instead of telling him that he needs to stop being a slob, tell him about how you used to be a slob, how you overcame your own laziness. Use principle number 3. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Do you like taking orders? Of course not. So why would you do that to someone else? People don't like to take orders, so instead of saying something directly, use principle number 4. Ask questions instead of giving direct orders. The next thing you need to remember is that every person's reputation is most important to them. If your employee or your kid makes a mistake and you scold them in front of everyone, then you will just embarrass them and they won't be receptive to your feedback. More importantly, even if you embarrass someone in private by pointing out their mistake, you can still damage the relationship you have with them. Years ago, General Electric had a man who was indispensable to the company, but he was failing his job, so instead of removing him, they just gave him another title, Consulting Engineer of the company. And then he worked happily at the company and he was very productive. So principle number 5 is, let the other person save face. Positive reinforcement is a real thing that works well for a lot of people. If you see someone make even a little bit of progress, praise them as much as you can. By seeing that you're praising them, they'll learn to keep doing that behavior. This can be especially important in parenting because you can make your child very empathetic if you praise him every time he helps someone. Principle 6 is, praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. So the next step is a lot like when the teacher picks the brattiest kid in the class to become the hall monitor. By telling him that he deserves responsibility, he actually can become more responsible. If you want someone to act in a manner that is more resourceful, simply pretend like they already have a good name. This gives the other person a fine reputation to live up to, and a lot of times they actually do. Most people just feel misunderstood, and when they feel like someone finally understands them, they will open their hearts to you and will help you in whatever way they can. Principle 7 is, give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. I remember when I was learning public speaking, I wasn't very good at it, and when I compared myself to other people, I could objectively see that I was making a lot of mistakes, and my mistakes were very hard to correct. But then the coach who was teaching me always made it seem like all of my mistakes were trivial and they were very easy to correct. This encouraged me a lot because then I didn't feel like my goal was out of reach. Now I know that my coach was using principle number 8, use encouragement, make the faults seem easy to correct. If I tell you to do something without telling you the benefits, you are not going to be motivated to do it. You have to know what's in it for you. So for example, if you want to get your child to study more in school, instead of scolding him or just forcing him to study, tell him about the benefits. Tell him about how he can get a great job and make more money to buy all the cars he likes, or how he can become a doctor and save people's lives. Principle 9 is make the other person happy about doing the thing that you're suggesting. One last thing I'd like to point out is that these tips may not work on everyone all the time, because real life situations can be much more complex. But even if they work on 1 person out of 10, you will be a better leader by 10%, and that is a huge difference. Make sure to watch all the other parts of this series on the screen right now. Like the video if you liked it and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.